Welcome to the HR Empowerment Podcast, where we will uncover strategies and new insights from HR professionals who discuss up-to-date regulations, best practices, and the most pressing topics like diversity and equity, leadership, dealing with difficult situations, and much more that affect your bottom line and business. Thanks for joining us.
Hey everybody, welcome back. Wendy Sellers here, the HR lady. We are here talking about best in-class employee life cycles that ensure inclusivity of all your employees and creativeness, which hopefully will positively affect the bottom line. So we welcome back to fractional people partner and CEO of Peak HR, Morgan Williams. Hey, Morgan.
Hey.
Hey, I want to talk a little bit about HR's role, or in some cases, whoever's wearing the HR hat, right? Because in small businesses, they may not have an HR department. And so it could be the business owner, a manager, a payroll person, which I can't stand that they put HR on a payroll person. That's a whole other conversation. But so many people may be wearing the HR hat with or without an HR department. How the heck does HR, one person, affect the organizational transformation? I'm just going to straight out ask you, what are the common pitfalls that you think businesses face during periods of change? And maybe how can HR raise a flag and say, help, we're having a problem here?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is people want to find the perfect answer. And they spend so long and there's no answer. And so it's just radio silence. And when people don't have an answer, they make an answer. They are going to make assumptions. And then you find yourself as a business or in the HR seat trying to fight against these assumptions, which you have no idea how they were even made, while you are spending so much time cultivating with the leadership trying to create this perfect answer. Be honest is the biggest thing that I can say. We don't have an answer right now. It's the first thing. So right. Before it's getting into there, but this is what we're working on. These are the things that we are prioritizing and exactly saying what it's going to be. We may have to change, we may have to pivot, but the more clear you can be up front, it allows people to feel comfortable. When you are silent, people think you're being sneaky. People think that you're making an agenda up. Maybe you're about to do a rep. You create all this unnecessary anxiety. And so I think the more transparent and clear that you can be ahead of time and just say, I don't have an answer and we're coming together as a team and by this time we will, or these are our challenges, or we're trying to, do it around the mission, vision, values for answers. So we want to talk about that, engage them within this process because it'll allow them to feel, a part of it, but also you get that buy-in and you can kind of stop some of that anxious and nervous energy.
I love it. I love the fact that you're saying, it's okay to say, I don't have an answer. Now, I wanted to follow up with that of saying, folks, don't just leave it at that. Make sure you actually follow up with your employees and say, okay, day 3, day 4, whenever you told me to get back to them, I still don't have an answer. I'm still looking at this. I actually had to tell a class that I was training on yesterday on a lot of the things that are going on in the government right now that did affect HR. And I didn't have an answer. And at the end of the session, it was a pop-up training. And I was like, I'm going to give you all the information that I have. I'm going to give you all the resources I can to find it. Connect with me on LinkedIn, because as I find more resources, I will share them. And they asked a question and I didn't have the answer. And I said, I don't have the answer. This was just announced 3 days ago, but connect with me on LinkedIn. I got off the training, went on LinkedIn and went to every lawyer's site that I knew and found the answer and then shared it. And I was like, oh, thank goodness I found the answer. But if somebody didn't ask me, I wouldn't even known to look for the answer that they were asking about. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And it makes us more human. I think that's the thing. Sometimes we sit up in this office, this high seat, whatever the case may be, and people don't find us approachable. This is something we can all relate to. It's just not having an answer. And so the more you can do that, you add humanity back into your role. And also just as a person, we can understand of somebody asking you something and I don't know the answer right now.
Right.
Interestingly, organizations that integrate change management are 47% more likely to meet their objectives compared to those that don't incorporate that. With that stat and a little bit of fact, throwing it back to you for your thoughts.
Yeah, Morgan, I'm going to put you on the spot here. What is change management?
Change management is a whole process, but I like to think of it, taking it a little bit, breaking it down, thinking about it being the project manager of whatever change. If it is a RIF, it is a new process. If you're onboarding something, who are the stakeholders, who's involved, what are the systems, and that whole process that's going, what are emotions that may come up through this, so we can have comms that go through these different cycles about it. And just getting somebody onboarded either to a new system, platform, or way of thinking, and that's what it is for me.
And that leads me right into another question. How can HR leaders, or whatever seat you're in and you happen to have the HR responsibilities, how can we foster resilience and adaptability on our teams, especially during times of change?
Yeah, I think this also goes back to saying, one, we're human and we don't have the answer. I think, once again, that adds in some trust. And when you get it, then once again, you're going to say that. I think it's also to say, this is a great time to do what I call sprints, and we're going to have to be much more agile. And sprints are just kind of these short circuits that you do for a project or whatever the case may be. I think typically we plan all of these long schemes, seeing everything we've already seen thus far. That's showing that this is probably going to be very unpredictable for the rest of the year and some of the things that we're going to roll out. So sprints are a little bit more controllable, and we can adjust as needed instead of the long-term plans. That resilience, it comes with honesty as well. If I can communicate and be clear in my intentions and tell you where I'm at, you are going to trust me, and we are creating psychological safety, as well as telling you there will be pivots. So I'm already getting that mental agility for you to understand. So if I change my mind, you know what I'm saying? You can understand why, and you have the intent, because I've been very open in my communication.
So do you believe in agile HR?
I do. I really love the PMP models and different things like that. I think we are moving closer to models like that. I think fractional is a really great example of somebody that's kind of working in there, becoming a new type of stakeholder. So I do think we'll see that. And agility is just a really needed time, especially with the advancement of technology and how quickly tools are coming about.
Yeah, I love it. Well, thank you so much for that. Hey, everybody, thanks for listening to episode 3 of our 5-part series. We're talking about directing best-in-class employee life cycles. Next up, we're going to talk about cultivating culture, fostering engagement and inclusion. And I did want to remind you again that there are many courses that can help you be more creative and credible. In fact, on March 21st, Aurora Training Advantage has a webinar called Communicate with Confidence and Credibility. And this is for all types of administrative professionals. I urge you to check it out on AuroraTrainingAdvantage.com. That was a mouthful. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for joining the HR Empowerment Podcast, brought to you by Aurora Training Advantage. We hope you've gained new insight and strategies to navigate the HR profession. We look forward to you joining us again on the HR Empowerment Podcast.